best type of technology disappears into the background. It's not up front and always in your face. So when we have technology in our face, it's overwhelming. When it becomes part of our solution, part of like, hey, this is on thesis, we're going this direction and this technology helps us get that direction. And now like it just, the best technology makes the person look like a superhero.
Welcome back to the Culture Based Podcast. I'm Dustin. He's Blake. We are the Culture Based. Today, episode 84, leveraging technology to enhance team collaboration. It's going to get real nerdy in here today, folks, so prepare yourself. Before we get into that, I want to remind you that we're here to help leaders know what they're about, show where they're going, and develop a scalable team to get them there. If you're listening on an audio podcast platform, would appreciate a 5-star rating or review, whatever the platform allows. It helps get this content out further to those like yourself who can benefit from it. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to hit the thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you're notified every time content like this podcast is dropped on our channel. You can follow us, speaking of YouTube, on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn at The Culture Base. That's BASE, not the base that Megan Trainor was talking about.
It's all about that base, actually.
This is different kind of basis than what Megan Trainor was talking about. Okay. I think that song was BASS. We are B. Okay, it's also bass. It's too early. You made me think that I was spelling something wrong. I was right. I was right and you were wrong. Anyway, BASE, the Culture Base. You can also go to theculturebase.com to book a free 30-minute strategy session with us. And while you're there, hop on over to our resources page. And for free, you can pick up our ebook, the Scalability Playbook, Proven Methods for Building High-Performing Teams. It's our ebook, all the stuff that we talk about on this show. For you, absolutely free. Go pick up your copy today. I think that's everything. Let's get into today's show where we're going to talk about leveraging technology to enhance team collaboration. But first, we always start with what?
The problem. Gosh, that was beautiful. I mean, you ruin a transition by talking about the transition,
but it's so good you have to.
Yeah, I don't.
It's illegal not to talk about it when it's that good.
Yeah. All right, now that we've ruined it, let's get into the problem. What we're talking about today is taking technology and leveraging it in such a way that fits into your culture, that fits into your organization. And the problem really, there are a lot of problems. Like we've got to hit a whole bunch of items for you to have to think about. And a lot of these problems we're going to talk about today, I have personally been on the I screwed it up category of the problem. Okay. And it's good because when you learn these things and you start to see signs of these things, you learn how to respond to a solution. And we're not jumping into the solution, so please don't transition too quick here. But the problem here, I know you were like ready to, but the problem, first off, we are in the most technologically advanced time of history, and teams are getting incredibly overwhelmed by too many disconnected platforms. So I would say, first off, one of the problems we have is that our platforms, they're not always on thesis. They're not always going towards the direction that all the other platforms are going towards. We tend to give way too many platforms, right? We give, hey, this has the ability to increase efficiency, therefore let's throw it out there. You got to remember that every new platform has a time period in the front side of that platform that is not efficient, that is not easy, that is not simply input or a simply experienced solution. In fact, it's probably the way it's done currently before the software. The beginning of getting into the software, the technology is going to take probably 4x what the initial thing you're already doing is. So when people get into it, get into the new solution, get into the new platform, what do they say? Why, I'm already quicker than this. I can already do it quicker. Why would I change here?
Mm.
Everything we do with bringing technology to your team requires someone to change. Change, we usually aren't excited about it, right? Like change is a very challenging thing. And unless someone has had a lot of success on the other side of change and said, hey, I've changed and the result was great. I've changed and the result was awesome. I've changed and I became more efficient. Unless they have that experience, they're going to see change like a monster of fear. And we don't want that. We want them to come to a place where your team knows, hey, we are going to change. But in the past, when we've changed, they fostered help through that process for us to know, first off, it's okay that we're not going to be efficient. Okay. So new technologies, we got to have good training in. And the problem is we tend to not. We tend to have horrible training because as leaders, we see, oh my gosh, this software can do this. And so we believe that after 20 minutes of using the software, our team should be there.
Yeah.
And we put that pressure on our team, not necessarily saying in 20 minutes you should be there, but by being so excited about the opportunity of efficiency and the opportunity of advancement and the opportunity of change, we end up starting to burn out our team before they even start with the digital solution, right?
Yeah.
So another aspect of adding more tech to your organization is the constant connectivity to work. The constant connectivity to technology can produce fatigue if you don't have a good plan and a balance of getting your team to where the technology or the platform doesn't feel like anything, right? The best type of technology disappears into the background. It's not up front and always in your face. So when we have technology and technology and technology in our face, it's overwhelming. When it becomes part of our solution, part of like, hey, this is on thesis, we're going this direction and this technology helps us get that direction. And now like it just, the best technology makes the person look like a superhero. And that's the kind of technology you want, not the one that is so like the goal instead of the tool. And that's an aspect of the problem that we have, especially in this AI generation that we're going into, and this heavy robotics generation, is when we, as leaders, especially when we praise the tool over the team, you're going to have some problems. Okay. So we need to praise and get our team to understand that these tools are to make the team better and not that the tool exists to get rid of the team. Okay. So I think one thing that I would say here is to simplify this. Um, First off, tech stack. We're going to use that term here today. A tech stack is really just your technology stack that your team uses. In my book, Uncultured, I did talk at one point about this idea of not wanting your technology and all your platforms you're in. You really want to have a minimization of how much you do there. You don't want to have 40 platforms that everyone has to learn and everyone has to use because people get decision fatigue, and it's a very real thing. This is the same thing. We get decision fatigue because of platforms. We get decision fatigue because of technologies around us. And it's just like that idea that in a kitchen, all the like it is being a tech person, I love the idea of having 10 different tools and each of them does a different thing. And I want the state of the art on it. But when you get that many tools in the kitchen, like your counters are just overwhelmed. Like you walk in and we actually get stressed from that. I don't know if you know that, but you walk in and see a desk that has stuff all over it. It actually, like they've scientifically shown that it proves to increase a stress that you don't know you have and deplete your subconscious.
Yeah, it's that minimalist mentality, right? It gives you clarity without all the stress. Your mind can get there quicker. I talk about that all the time with my clients, is that if your brain, the faster your brain can connect to the current situation or the context in which you're working, the less power it uses for bringing in that context and figuring out
Mhm.
what it needs to do. So it has
Yep.
more power for the actual problem solving portion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the creativity, you want to have as much of your brain being able to go at a problem, and the only way to do that is to simplify what's on the counter. Okay, so I think I think that hits the problem. I would say on tech stack as we get into this, because not everybody's in the industries to know what all those things are, but I would almost separate tech stack. Like, there is the category of tech stack. Underneath that is like the next layer down. I would separate it into softwares and platforms, and then technology like hardware and things like that, because those two things kind of live differently in our brains. And if you're in a heavy tech world, you know what I'm saying there. But I would say if you've got solutions like, oh, I don't want to add another platform because we have robots working over here. And well, if you're not heavy on technology, like on your platforms and your softwares, you may have margin there. So I would just say, as we dive into these things, don't be like, I can't have this because the culture base said this. No, that's not true. Your organization might be able to take on a certain number of these things, but do you know that? And that's what I think we're trying to get into with the solution.
So the solution, as Blake started getting into there, is to first think about your tool belt, this tech stack, right? And how can you optimize the tool belt? I love this idea. This is not on our notes, so I'm gonna just throw a wrench in here. But I love this idea. For a lot of men get obsessed with another TLA called EDC. You know what EDC is, Blake? EDC is your everyday carry. What do you
Mm,
carry every day? And essentially, we're saying, what's your tool belt? Now, it might not be the digital tech side of things, but it might be the physical things. Like I was telling Blake before we got onto this, I part of my EDC, my everyday carry is a watch. I'm a watch guy now, but I forgot to put it on this morning, so I feel weird. So it's knowing what's in your tool belt and knowing how to use it when it's there. I have a is it Leatherman that makes the multi tool. So I have a
mhm,
Leatherman multi-tool that I usually have in my bag. It's part of my everyday carry. It is a multi-tool. It does a multitude of things. So I don't have to carry a whole toolbox around. It all fits into one, right? So it's the same thing here when you're talking about your digital uh, tech stack, your digital tool belt. One thing, again, not here on our show notes, I'm going to throw in here as well. One little hack that I've learned here is I don't want personally, I like to kind of keep it right around my top five because it helps
mm,
me minimalize that. And so for me, I have five tabs that when I open up a browser, that those five tabs open up with it right on the home is at startup. And it's the five pieces of tech, essentially web-based tech that I
mhm,
use. It's my CRM, it's a couple of AI tools, it's some design stuff, it's some dashboards that I need to look at. You know what I mean? Like it's
mm,
all there for me right there. And I don't have to think about like, oh, I need to open that. I need to open that. All of this technology use, like Blake said, it should minimize the friction
mm,
between your brain identifying the problem and starting to solve the problem.
mm,
There's that, there's that, there's that tr- transportation. There's the distance. That's what I'm trying to think of. There's the distance between those two. And
mm,
the shorter you can make that distance, the better it will be for your brain. Tech does not replace your brain. Tech is a tool for your brain to use. So think about what's in your tech stack. Uh, I would always um, put this up against kind of peers, whether they're in your company or not. I will often, if I come across a new piece of technology, software, hardware, whatever, I will often shoot a text to about five or six different people who are peers of mine, not in the same organization that I'm in, and say, thinking about this, do you have any experience with it?
mhm,
Because sales 101, a referral is number one always.
mm,
If someone that you trust is using it and they have good results, then you go, well, I trust them. they're like me, I'll probably have the same results and I'll go from there. Or I trust them. They hated it. They had a horrible experience with it. I'm not going to waste my time. Thank you for not wasting my time. And I saved myself hours of trying to figure out something just by being able to text a friend and say, hey, do you use this? So I think it's no different in our organizations, right? Just like, let's not, the stack is real, but let's not overstack the stack.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. So anything you would add to that, Blake?
No, that's perfect.
Cool. So I think another portion of the solution here is to think about the human first technology strategy. And what we mean here is like, does it help engage human connection? Like, does it help you be a better leader of people? Right. Or does it put you in a silo? If it silos you more, which I know like Enneagram fives and introverts are going to be like, but that sounds awesome. It does. I'm sure
Yeah.
it does. But that's not going to enhance the human element of your organization, which is ultimately the power that turns the wheel at the end
Yeah.
of the day. So think about the human connection. Does the technology help you in the human connection? And lastly,
Say something about that, because I think it's really like there is this confusion that's happened with this. And I see it in our teams, and I see it especially through COVID, is that we believed we were becoming more efficient and more collaborative by being able to stay in our little world and be separated from other people. I don't know where the line, I mean, it happened during COVID. We really saw that. But we have confused being connected with being collaborative. We've confused being a good team with being efficient, because we've all of a sudden narrowed our focus so tight that we are now looking just at one part of a team, and that's it. Like, I'm getting efficient, I'm getting quicker, I'm using this, I'm able to, and we're not we anymore. Like, we have lost we in that team mentality almost entirely when we completely separate and just get, hey, here's my tech stack, here's my separation. Uh, I want to invest into these tools because I don't have to be part of the team. Well, then you don't understand some pretty elementary things about why you do anything. And there's so much scientific evidence and so much evidence out there, even in the business world right now, that this whole remote being completely collaborative is a farce. It we've missed this connection of what a team is to truly expound. Okay, so when we think human first technology, we're thinking team first, we're thinking result first, we're thinking how do we win the game that we're playing, not just be efficient in my one wheel that I spin. Because if you spin that wheel so efficiently and the next person whose wheel is connected to your wheel is not, you're either working extra hard and the other person's not doing it, but we're going to slow each other down. We're going to have broken cogs in the mechanism. So you have to know, I do this because this helps this, and this team member is going to grow because I did this, right? Like we miss those things when we only focus on efficiency or how collaborative can we be.
Yeah, but that also leads us into the last part of our solution is the collaboration effect, right? What I love about technology in the workplace is it can band people together, right? Whether it's a common hero or a common foe, it will band you together. If it's a common foe, and we can all agree we need to move it, move it on down the line, right? If it's a common hero, then, oh, have you tried this? And have you tried this? And have you had, oh, I didn't try this. Now all of a sudden you're bonding. You have two people that can't bond over anything else. They might be able to bond over this, but the collaboration effort that goes into it continues to make people better. And I think that's the moment where technology can start changing your company culture, is because we can start to work together towards something that we can see the end of, right? We can see the end of it and we go, oh, I'm going to take steps towards it, and I'm going to bring person A in and person C in because they're going to have experience with this too. And you start to really kind of go round table style with this technology. And it can really be a quick snowball effect in your culture to rally around something that makes things happen so quickly. I'm gonna throw this in here just real quickly, like unannounced, because that's how I've been doing today already. So I know at one of our clients for the culture base has rolled out some new technology recently. Talk to me about, I know you've been working with them a lot on that rollout. Talk to me about what does that look like? What did that path look like to as it's started to unroll? The receptiveness, the collaboration. How have you seen that so far start to impact the culture, positive or negative?
Mm. So negatively speaking, I'll start there because that's easier to start with
Sure.
anytime you're bringing technology in. Is you're going to fight against an idea of the way it's always been done. Okay,
Mm,
that is as much as anybody will say, "Oh, we're not like that." Okay, um, but everyone is. We have a way it's always been done. We've had things that we've tried before that failed, and we have written those things or those ideas off. The thing that I have felt we've had to do to help bring solution is have small wins. You've got
mm.
to have the small wins to prove the big wins.
And publicly
And
announce
so,
those small wins.
exactly. Hey, see why we do this? Or
Mhm.
show and identify the areas that people say, "Oh, we don't need to do this. We don't have that problem." When that problem happens, get loud about it.
Mm,
Like, not sarcastically, because you'll want to, and I do. Like, I wonder if a CRM would have helped with that. Like, don't do that. That doesn't help get to the solution. However, saying, hey, this is what we meant by this being a problem. A CRM or a certain technology to incorporate here would have caught this. Okay, it would have identified this ahead of time, and we
mm.
wouldn't have lost $1,000 by proceeding with that order.
Yeah.
So here's why we're saying this is important, and I need you to see it because it has a dollar figure now. And so when you start doing that, when you identify the problems and you identify the wins, you start to build a case. Okay. And you have to build a case for why this thing needs to be a part of the organization. And just because you as the leader know innately, hey, this solution would work, you have got 10,000 hours plus of experience to know those things so easily that it will take somebody else 10,000 hours to understand. And you're working off of different information than your team is working off of. So if they're working off of a different information, we've got to do some training and understanding and context, uh, kind of epiphanies for the
Mm.
team, kind of bring those context epiphanies so that they can get there with you and understand, wow, now I get it. So I would say those are probably the early stage problems and create the story. Everyone's got a story about this tech. Everyone's got a story about the problem. We've got to get all those stories to align before we can even engage in what this technology is you're bringing.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. Let's get into the action steps.
All right. So for leaders, we just got to get into a couple things really quick. First, look at the technology you have. Get really curious about the technology you have. There are going to be people who hate it. So maybe don't be like, I'm going to do a survey. Like, surveys aren't always the right answer for the solution that you're supposed to bring. And again, with that thing we just talked about, of you having context everyone else maybe doesn't have, you need to bring the solution. Now go around and ask because you want to get good information from everyone. But as the leader, you're seeing things at a 10 or a 30,000 foot view that you understand with that has synergies between these two departments that those departments won't understand. So I think you got to initially look at the landscape of this technology and start asking those questions. Yeah. Really, we just got to do that. We got to look at our landscape. We got to look at the technology and we got to be curious. The next thing, we got to create clear digital communication guidelines. How are we engaging with the technology? How are we using it? What are we not using it for? Right? Like, those things are just as important as what you're using something for. So next, we got to create clear digital communication guidelines. What do you use this thing for? What do you not use this thing for? Having a clear understanding of what we're doing and what we're not doing with things is equally as important. I was talking to someone yesterday about just culture, and they are in the culture world. And they asked me like, hey, when you decided to go start this organization based off of these cultural things, like, how did you do it? And I was like, originally I didn't have verbiage or language for culture being the issue or for all these other things because I was just in the thing. But then I started to learn, I knew what was wrong. I knew what things weren't supposed to be. And that kind of like developed what was supposed to happen. So I think the same is true here. Knowing what you don't know about something is equally as important because you may not have verbiage, you may not have action behind it, but you're going to be able to start giving definable areas. Like one of those things is, what are the boundaries we put on this? What are the expectations we have with the technology we're using? Hey, isn't it great? Like this technology allows us to constantly be in your ear. No, that's not great. Like there is so much organizational health that comes from your team being able to disconnect.
Yeah.
Connection's not always the answer. We need to make sure we're not pushing people to always be on. And the only way to do that as a leader is to model, hey, go home, separate, be off now from this technology. I appreciate that you're willing, but don't. Like that doesn't mean anything more. And what's more important is that you're a healthy team player and not one who just gets a lot done. Again, we don't care about efficiency over health in this, right? We want clear, good cultural health there. What else do you have there?
Yeah, I think really just for team members, it's important, just as we were talking about our client rolling out some new technology recently, I think for team members, it's important to understand that you need to keep an open mind, give the benefit of the doubt as much as you can. I know that you kind of have your processes and you have your ways and you have your own software that you really love to use and not use. Example, I'm an Apple person. I start working with an organization that's like, we're Microsoft Teams and OneDrive. And hey, man, cool. I don't like that. But if it works for you, it works. And so I think just understanding and having that flexibility to go, hey, this might not be for me, but it might be best for the organization. Because your personal preferences as a team member are not always the most beneficial, the most helpful, and the most healthy for your organization. So I think the action step really I just want one action step for the team members today is keep an open mind. That's it. Just keep an open mind and communicate about that, how you're feeling and how you're dealing with it. Don't bottle it up. Don't talk about it around the water cooler when the boss isn't around. Like bring it up in your one-on-ones and say, I'm really struggling to understand the benefit of this tool. I haven't figured out how to kind of get it into my stride yet. Be open about it, be open in your communication about it, and be open-minded about the change. That's what I would add.
Cool.
Anything else there?
Nope.
Sick. All right. So that's our episode on technology, how it affects the culture of your workplace. Next week, we're going to be back talking, or next time, we'll be back talking about creating a culture of continuous learning and development. We love talking about this conversation. And we look forward to talking about it with you next time on the Culture Based Podcast. Have a great week.